Hello everyone, and welcome to what will hopefully be a quick tutorial on the brand new Unity networking system called UNET. So I have the Unity 5.1 beta, so those of you who have the pro version of Unity 5, you'll be able to access the beta and actually follow along with this tutorial. For those of you with the free edition, with the personal edition, then I guess you'll just have to wait till Unity 5.1 comes out, and then it'll probably be something sort of like what you'll see in this video. Alright, but you can also still watch and of course see what the new Unity networking system looks like. Well, as much as I get into it, that is. Alright, so first of all, I'm just going to save this scene as, let's see, I'll call this one menu scene, so I'll just call it menu. And then I'm going to save another scene as, save scene as, and I'll call this one main. Nope, can't spell, main. Alright, and then I'll open up the main scene, and I'll go ahead quickly create a plane, 3D object plane. Just size it up a bit. And the material is very bright, so I'll just quickly create a new folder. Call it materials. And inside of it, I'll make a new standard material. Which one? This one I'll just call gray, and I'll just change the color down to something like there. Okay. Go back to the plane. Just click on the materials, expand that, and drop in the gray material. Okay, so it's a bit easier on my eyes now. And I'll drop in a cube. Alright, and I'll lift it up. Just check that your snap settings are something suitable, so I'm just using snap. And oh, by the way, this is kind of like an intermediate tutorial. It isn't meant for beginners at all. So if you're looking for an introduction to Unity and the networking, then you'll have to, I guess, wait for GTGD S3, which I'm still working on at the time of making this video. Alright, so okay, I've got my cube there. I'll just move it out of the way a bit. I'll make a duplicate, move it somewhere like that. Maybe I'll scale it up as well. And lift it up. Alright, and yeah, push it over here. Okay. Now I've done that, so my environment is set up. I'll just make an empty game object. It's at 000, which is all nice. I'll call it environment. And drop all these environment pieces into it. Oops, didn't do that right. Alright. Fold that away. Alright, so now I've already imported the standard assets. I imported the first person character. Well, that's the last one I want to use. I want to use the Fps Controller. And to do that, you just go to assets, and import package and the characters. In my case though, when I just created the new project, I just selected that to import with, to import to begin with anyway. Alright, so that's the FPS controller there. I'm just going to rename it. I'll call it player. And I'm going to turn it into a prefab. So I'll create a new folder. I'll call this prefabs. Drop it in. Okay. Right, of course. So I'll drop, so where is it anyway? Alright, so it's invisible. So I will, well, first of all, I want to reset its position. I'll lift it up so it doesn't fall through the ground when we start playing. Okay. And then I will add to it a capsule. Okay, good. And I'll remove the collider component. Done. Yep. Okay, that looks about right. So I'll just save that. I'll hit play. Just make sure I can actually play. Yes, there are 2 audio listeners in the scene. So I need to fix that when I start adding in the networking, that is. Okay, so I can move around. Okay, that's enough. Alright. So the new networking system is completely different to the old system, which I showed you in S1 and S2. It's totally different to that. So it's just completely new. I guess when I show you, as much as I know at the moment about it, then you can see for yourself that is completely new. So here you go. Just search for like network, and we don't use the network view component anymore. That's well, at least I don't think we do. That's pretty much gone. We're going to now use here network manager, attach that. These are pre-made components from Unity just to help us out to start with. I think the truth is though, when you start doing anything more advanced, you really need to code your own stuff. Okay, so offline scene, I'm going to drag in the menu scene. This does play up so sometimes. I don't know why it does that. I guess this is a beta, so I can't expect everything to be perfect. Let me try saving. Let's see if it will work. No, it won't. So I'll come back to it later. I'll let it play and do some. What I was trying to do was I was just trying to drag in the menu scene and the main scene into their slots. It's a pretty amazing system, this, that it can automatically transition you from the menu scene to the online scene where you're playing the game online. All right. Anyway, so network info, that's where you can see the current network address is just localhost. That's 127.0.0.1, which just allows you to connect to yourself. So I'm not going to change that. I'm not going to be doing any port forwarding or Hamachi kind of connections or anything like that in this tutorial. It's just going to be localhost. And right, we need a player prefab. So this thing has an automated spawning system. So of course we can code that, and I need to look into that, how to do all that manually. But for now, I'm going to just rely on Unity's automated spawning system. So I'll just click that again and come back here. And to stop that from happening, by the way, I should have just used the lock button to stop losing the contents of the inspector when I was doing that. Okay, so coming back, I'm going to drag the player in. Okay, now the player 2 needs to get set up a bit as well. Is there anything else I need to do? No, I'm not using any of the advanced configuration, simulation, or anything. The HUD will simply bring up a HUD. I'll just quickly show you. That's what it does. It brings up this HUD to allow you to quickly set up a server or connect to a server. All right, so for the player, I'm going to unlock that. Yep, okay, so for the player, I'm going to add a network identity. So this is like the network view of old, and I'm going to check local player authority because this is a game object that is owned by that game instance. So game instances do own this object and control it, so I need to turn that on. Otherwise, then the game, if I don't check server only or the local player authority, then this game object will be disabled when I join a network game. Alright, so, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually attach a network transform as well. I'm not going to sync the rigid body 3D, I'm going to sync the transform because this is a character controller. I picked the basic FPS controller, and that is operated by a script, and the rigid body is kinematic, so it isn't the rigid body really like driving the thing. It's a script driving it. Okay, and the rotation, yes, I'll just leave that alone. Okay, so I will hit apply to save the changes to this prefab. I won't worry about any of the other stuff on it. I might just add a 3D object, a cube. Move it over here, resize that. Yep, like this. And just to point out which way, so I can see which way the player is facing. I guess that's all it is for. All right. And just to see, you know, that the rotation is syncing without actually having to click on the object in the hierarchy. All right, so let me just hit apply and delete the player from the scene. Okay. And now if I hit play, all right, so it's just waiting for me to, well, I'll do something. So a LAN host is a player that is also a server. So there's a server with a client, and then a LAN server only is just the server only, and a LAN client, of course, is a client. Okay, so obviously we need a server. I'm not going to pick server only. Actually, I'm going to actually pick LAN host, so we can be a player and a server at the same time. Okay, so we're in the game. Okay, fine. What I need to do is to build and run another copy of this and see how that saves. And of course, it's still complaining about 2 audio listeners. I haven't done anything to rectify that. So let me go ahead and build and run, add the current scene, and yeah, build and run. And I will also create a folder, new folder, built, and I'll enter it and just call this built. Hit save. Now I should have probably added the other scene, but because I couldn't set it up earlier, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'll just use the same main scene that it was just currently loaded on. Alright, so hit play. Alright, get into it. Hit play here, connect. Alright, so I'm in. Now if I jump to the other window, and I click LAN client and connect in, of course you can see immediately that there's a serious problem. And what's happening is the camera, it's flickering, and I'm controlling both players. And if you followed like S1, you know what's happening. It's basically these scripts here, there's no control over them. It's running, so if both of these players have an active first-person controller script, so when I press move forward on one, it moves forward on both of them, on both characters. So, well, that's all, that makes sense. So that's my fault. So I need to make a script to just deactivate, well, not deactivate, I will deactivate these components on the player to begin with, and then I'll reactivate them for only the player that belongs to us. So all the other players that join in, their player characters that join in, they will have deactivated components. So I'll deactivate the camera, the audio listener. Alright. And, oh yeah, I should just get rid of this box collider. No, it's just pointless at the moment, because it'll also be colliding against the player, which is unnecessary. Okay. Done, done, done. Okay, hit apply. Done. Now, next thing, I need to make a script. So I'm going to create another folder. I'll just call it scripts. And then I will make a C# script, and I will call this one player network setup. Open it up. And I'm not going to need the update function. And with the new Unity networking, we need to use a new, I guess a whole new library, I guess, using Unity engine.networking. Okay, and we need to derive from network behavior, which itself derives from mono behavior. And now we're good to go. Now we can use, well, a new, I guess, function. So if is local player. So this is the replacement of like if network view.isMine. This is like the equivalent of that, except that this system is completely different. So like something to note about this UNET, the new Unity networking, is that it is server authoritative. So the clients don't speak to each other. They speak to the server, and the server speaks to the clients. So things that I did before, for example, in S1, you can't do them in this. You can do much more, but you do it differently. So I'll show you a little bit of that in this video. So if is local player, then what do I want to do? Well, one of them is, well, how about we turn off the main camera. Now, do I turn it off, or do I? Yeah, why not? I'll try that. I'll see what happens if I do that. So if is local player, then GameObject.find, and I'll call it, actually I'll change the name. I'll just call it scene camera. Okay. Scene camera dot set active. False, so I think that'll take care of that problem, maybe. Or I might have a new problem because of that. And then next, I need to go into the player character itself. So what I will say is that get component, because I'm going to attach this to the player, get component. It's a Unity standard assets dot characters dot first person dot first person controller dot enabled is equal to true. Okay. Then the next thing I need to enable is the character controller. So I probably should have started with that. Get component character controller dot enabled is equal to true. Okay. Next, not the rigid body, audio source, network transform. Alright, so that looks fine. What about the next bit? Okay, so I've got a first person character and I need to set this. Okay, so this one I can do transform dot find child, or better yet, you know what I'll do? I will just have a reference to it, serialize field, and I will call this one, what is it? It's a camera. Camera FPS character cam, something like that. Okay, and then I will say FPS character cam dot enabled is equal to true, and then I'll come back here, and now I'll attach the script if I haven't already, which I haven't. Okay, drop it in. Done. I need to attach the FPS camera, so now I'll just drag this in, and there we go. So the character, the camera is recognized, and it should get enabled. I need to enable the audio listener as well. So serialize field audio listener, and I'll just call it audio listener. And again, I'll do audio listener. Can't spell. Audio listener dot enabled is equal to true. Okay, done. So, and now of course I need to drag that into its slot. So I can just drag this and it recognizes what to put in there. Okay, good. So, do I need to do anything else? Am I missing something obvious? I don't know, I guess I'll just find out by running it. First I hit apply, save the changes to the prefab, delete that. Okay, now I'll run and see what disaster unfolds, or maybe it might work. Okay, I'll set up a server. Okay, I'm in. Jump in. Looks like it's working, actually. Yeah, it looks like there's no problem whatsoever. Let me zoom out a bit so then it's easier to see. Let me jump up on this cube to show that I've moved, and then jump back on this one. Yep, definitely moving. Now the motion is very jerky, as you can see. It's based off the send rate, and I haven't understood yet actually how the interpolation works. So if we have a look at the player, and you'll see on this network transform, you'll see that there's an interpolate movement and so on. I don't actually understand yet how that works, so once I guess the documentation is more thorough, then it'll be clearer. But as you can see, that's all the code that I wrote, and so you can see that the new Unity networking is actually incredible. Actually, it's really quite amazing that that you can even get this far with so little code. Well, yeah, I found it really amazing, actually. Okay, anyway, enough of that. I need to do another change. Okay, so I'm not happy with that jerky motion. So if I bring back the player, yeah, I need to change that. So I'm going to take away the network transform. I'm going to do this manually. I'm going to write a script, or at least I think I'm doing it manually. Oh, well, however manual that is. And I'm going to call this player, what should I call it? Sync position? Yeah, I guess that's a good enough name. Player sync position. I'll just drag it onto the player prefab. Just wait a moment. Okay, do that again. Minimize. Okay. Alright. Come back to mono-develop. And once again, I need to using system.unity. Oh, sorry, using Unity Engine dot networking. and then derived from network behavior. And I need some variables. I know I'll need like a sync, I guess a sync position variable. So a private vector3 sync pos. I'll need private. No, I will serialize this instead. So I'll just here serialize field transform my transform. Okay, I'll store a reference to the player's transform using that, and serialize field. I will call this one float lerp rate, and I'll give it an initial value of say 15. Okay, I won't need the start function, and I'm not going to need update, but I'll need fixed update just to reduce the number of times I want to be sending messages over the network. So I need to make some functions. What will I make? I'm just trying to recall. Well, obviously a function to lerp. So void lerp position. Okay. And how would this work? Lerping the position should only happen on player characters that don't belong to us. So in our game instance, if there are other players there, we want their positions to lerp. We want their motion to smooth out, because, you know, position data is going to be received at increments, and then the players, those player positions, the players are moved to those new positions that are coming at, it's smoothed out. So they're moved to those new positions smoothly rather than a jerky motion like what you were saying before. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. So this shouldn't run on ours, on our game instance. Our player is under our control, moving very smoothly as per our WASD keys. So I'm going to put here if not is local player. Then we're going to be doing the lerping. So then my transform dot position is equal to vector3 dot lerp. And it will be going from my transform dot position to the sync position at time dot delta time times lerp rate to smooth it out. Okay. All right, that's it. Next, what do I need? I need to send, so because this is a server authoritative system, I need to tell the server about this player's position, and then I want the server to tell everyone else tell all the game instances, all the clients, where this player's new position is, and then those clients will then use this lerp position function to move those player characters to their position. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, to do that, I have to write something called a command. So the command is sent to the server. The client is telling the server to run this command, and the client can supply a parameter as well, or parameters. And I'm going to call it void, and it must have CMD. So it must have this, I guess these three letters, command, and I'm going to call this provide server, provide position to server. And I'm going to give it a parameter. It's going to need a parameter vector3 pos. So this code runs only on the server. It will run only on the server, but I'll call it on the client. And which client? Our character that we're controlling in our game instance will call this command, and then it'll be done on the server. The server will receive this information. Now, what information is it going to receive? It's going to receive sync pos is equal to position. Now, this isn't enough. Okay, so what's going to happen now on the server when I run this command? I haven't created any function to do that yet. But when I run this command, this on the server side, the script is going to get a value in sync pos. Let's say I'm at position 111. I will run some function that I haven't made yet, and it'll get supplied in here. And then so on the server, sync pos will equal to that. Not in our game instance, nor in any of the other clients. I need the server now to sync this value, to sync this type, to sync this variable. So that's where I use this attribute called sync var, and it applies to the sync position variable. So it will automatically, the server will automatically transmit this value to all clients when it changes. This is very powerful, and this replaces the I forget what it was called. I think it was like on serialized network view, where we would do the writing and reading. So it replaces that. It's doing it for us automatically. Okay, so now that I've done that, so now the server's got this value, and now that it's changed, it's going to submit it, it's going to send it to all the clients, and all their scripts for this character will have the updated sync pos value. Now I need to run a function only on the clients. So I'm going to use another attribute called client callback. You can use client as well, but from the documentation it says that client callback, as well it says here too, it won't generate any warnings. So, and that's what I want, so that it doesn't clutter up the log, the error log in Unity editor. Alright, client callback. Alright, so I'm going to call this one void transmit position. And then I will run the command, so command, and I will supply it with my transform.position. Okay, so now in fixed update, I'll make use of these functions. First of all, I will write the transmit position, and then lerp position. So let me go again over what is happening here. So when fixed update runs, let's say this is our game instance, my player, running on the server. When transmit position is run, it will call this command, supply it with my position, and that value will be then, this command will be run on the server, and the server will receive this value on the script that's attached to my character in the server. And then this value will have been changed, so it knows that behind the scenes what's happening, and it will transmit this value to all the clients, and then they will have this updated value. Now on my game instance, this lerp position, nothing is going to happen. I'm in control of my own character, and so this lerp function is not going to do anything. But on let's say other clients, on their game instances, when they see my player there, this function will run, and so my character will lerp from its last position, from its current position rather, to that supplied position value, and at this rate. So that is basically what is going to happen. There's probably something else I needed to mention. Yes, because you know the way the hosting is done, let's say the client is also the server, well, the client on that server will still receive, it will still be able to do this client callback. That is still a client. So the person playing is still like a client, and this function still operates even on them. Well, that's as far as I can understand at the moment. It looks that way. Alright, so let me jump back in. Now I need to attach that component. So let me just click here. Okay, my transform. So I'll just drag in the player's transform, save that, hit apply at the top, and is everything else okay? Yes, it is. So I'll delete that. I'll just quickly run, just make sure that there are no obvious errors. Okay, so it's working. Hit build and run. Okay. And then connect. Let's see, did it work? No, it hasn't. So it's not syncing across the network at all. So that means I've plain outright forgotten to do something. So let's have a look. What is attached? It has a network identity, it has the transform, and it has the lerp rate. Okay, that's all good. So I'll exit back out, I'll close this down. and come back here and just quickly check. Okay, so the error is quite simple. It's just forgetting to say if is local player. And copy this command over there. And then try that again. Okay, so now it's working very well. Rotation isn't working, so another script. I need to write another script that does exactly the same thing for rotation, but otherwise position is now synchronized across the network. And with lerping, which smooths out the motion, the jittery motion, which is all good. So that is the new Unity networking quite quickly. Well, let me see if it's working now. Let me see if I can actually put in the scenes. So if I come back here, will it let me? Nah, it still doesn't. Oh, well. Oh no, there we go. That allowed me this time. Maybe I'm not doing it right. Maybe I need to. That's interesting. Okay, well that's it for this quick intro into UNET, and I'll probably have another video later for the rotation, just to show how to sync that as well.